I gave this presentation to the State Transportation Commission last week, and we'll be scheduling presentations, hopefully with the House and Senate Transportation Committees in the near future, again, to bring them up to speed. They've all received copies of the report. They've all received the summaries as well. So the thing to do is when you're talking to your legislators, you can reference this information. Make sure that personalize it. These are things that are happening throughout our entire state. Well, where are we? We now have 6 years of road and bridge condition information that is more than enough for us to, look at trends and really show what's going on. The important thing is that we continue to have one rating system throughout the state. This is one of the reasons we were put together, was really to take the issue of data out of the equation of road and really use it more as an information piece. So a good road in Detroit is a good road in the UP, is a good road in mid-Michigan, here in Mount Pleasant, and the same. And we're using that system, and it seems to be working pretty well. Other than collecting data, which is a major piece of our budget, the next most important thing and highest piece of our budget is training. And as many of you know, we do a lot of training. Most, not all of you that have been in this room have been to at least one or more trainings at this particular point. We're reporting not only on the condition of the federal aid system, which is the highest system in the state, but also still don't have a statistically based sample of the non-federal aid. We do have more information than we've received on the non-federal aid system that we report on as well. This is our 5th annual conference, and we think that we're doing a pretty good job in that regard. To see that you're all here again. One particular emphasis this year that we place is on bridges, and we haven't spent a lot of time in the past talking about bridges, but based on what we saw last year, we put together a bridge committee that's being chaired by Roger Safford, and that bridge committee is doing some good work. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish out of that, and we'll see, is a manual. Just like we have a manual on asset management or pavement management for roads, we're going to try to come up with the same sort of document for bridges, so that we can maybe spend a little bit more time and effort on trying to improve the bridges. And lastly, but not lastly, but last on the page there is our new and enhanced website. And we think that with help of CSS, our website is much improved. Hopefully you feel the same way. We also appreciate comments that you have on that, trying to communicate more information, put more things down there, hopefully in an easier format for you to find. What the data is telling us. Well, this is the system, the highest system in the state, the federal aid system, just to remind everybody. And this is what we collect most of our data on. Again, this is more for the commission, but again, good, fair, poor, you know the ratings. You've seen this before. It's about a time on that. This is what we know about our system after the last 6 years of collecting data. And again, not a big surprise. You can see that the amount of good pavement continues to go down slightly. The amount of pavement in poor condition on that federal aid system continues to decline. And unfortunately, the amount of poor pavement continues to go up significantly. When we started this process in 2002, you could see that about 12% of the pavements were in poor condition. We're now over 1/3 of the system today in poor condition. This is a very powerful slide, and we continue to show this to everybody, to try to make them to understand that we are in a crisis. Things aren't getting better. And a lot of these years were years when we, relatively speaking, in the state, had a significant amount of money to invest in our system. The news that ought to scare everybody is, in the next few years, it doesn't look like, at least from what we see right now, that we're going to have that level of funding. And so if this is what it looks like in quote times, My God, where are we going when we get into a situation where we don't have the money? This is a little variation of a slide that we've used the last couple of years where we're trying to impress upon people really the reduction in asset value that we face. Those green bars that you see represent the percent of good pavement every year since we've started, and you see that percentage continue to go down. What the circles and the lines represent is a theoretical number. It's a dollar amount of what it would have cost based on our estimates to take the entire system and make it into a good condition. And you can see when you see that bar continue, that line continue to go up, it represents that every year we wait to make improvements, our system is getting worse, and it costs that much more money to get us back into a situation where our system will start to improve. What it begins to tell you is, even right now, if we get additional funding right now to invest in our system, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see a significant improvement in that system immediately. It's going to take, some time before pavement conditions start to improve, even with additional revenues. This is again, hard to see from the back. You can't see the numbers in the red and the green, but this is sort of the picture that tells the whole story. That from 2004, if you read left to right, from 2004 to 2009, from good to poor, you'll find that almost 45% of the lane miles in the system have gone from good to poor. And we've only been able to improve 15% of those going right, or right to left. 15% of those lane miles have been improved. So we're in a deficit situation. Things are definitely not getting better, and we need to be able to communicate this to everyone. One of the things the council did this year, been working on it for a little while, is to try to, okay, we know what the condition is today, but what's it going to look like in the future based on current revenues? And I already talked about this a little bit. We're looking at trying to forecast the future. We're not sure what we're going to do yet in terms of a process. So we use two different forecasting procedures this year to answer that question of, if we continue to invest at the same level that we're investing now, what's this going to look like in 4 or 5 years? And again, not anybody's surprise, the condition of the system is going to continue to deteriorate. This graph shows what it will look like to 2015. And even we use two different processes without going into the differences of them. You can read a little bit about that in the report. Actually, process is taking us to the same place. That there's nothing out there right now that suggests with revenues, and that was the caveat here, and we all know that may not happen, that it's going to get better. So what we have here is really a crisis, because things are bad, they're getting worse, and at this point there's nothing out there that tells us they're going to get better. I mean, non-federal aid system. I wish there was a little bit of good news in this somewhere. I think why they make me do this report to you every year, because I get the bad news part of the whole thing. But the non-federal aid system, again, is not a statistically valid sample, but again, no surprise to those of you sitting out here that the non-federal system is even in worse condition than the federal aid system. There's more miles, there's less money. Again, this is not rocket science. A little bit about bridges. Condition of the state-owned bridges is improving. Condition of local-owned bridges is declining a little bit. And as I mentioned, to try to address this, we've got a new bridge committee that's been put together. And one of the things that we looked at, we said, well, a lot of local agencies aren't investing, particularly federal dollars, in capital preventive maintenance on their bridges.